I think it's a fact that people on the right tend to understand the views of people on the left better than people on the left understand the views of people on the right. And it actually gives people on the right somewhat of an advantage in being able to talk to voters in general. And we're seeing that in a lot of the polling that's out there. The reason this is the case is because so much of the media is also on the left, that the media, when it presents stories, tends to present them from the views of the left. And the left increasingly caricatures anyone who disagrees with them. So, for example, if you're on the left and you want to understand the right's view on abortion, you immediately descend to, well, you just want to control women's bodies. You want the government to tell women what to do with their bodies. Actually, an overwhelming issue is that the Roe v. Wade decision was constitutional overreach, that you can't read the Constitution in any way, shape, or form and find a right to an abortion in it, so it should have been dealt with at the state legislative level under the 10th Amendment, where things not expressly consented to Congress or granted to Congress under the Constitution or left specifically with any other group are dealt with by the states and the people. That's the actual argument there. Now, we understand that on the left, they believe that women should be able to terminate a pregnancy. Oftentimes, they don't accept it's a human being. They try to obfuscate that it's a human being so they can get around the issue of, are you taking a human being's life? Regardless of that, they believe that for whatever reason, it's a woman's body. She has to carry the child. If it is an inconvenience to her in some capacity, she should be able to terminate it. It should be her choice and only her choice. People on the right would say that, well, as a matter of fact, it's another human being. And if you don't want that human being to reside in you, don't have sex. And if you want to jump immediately to the extreme cases of rape and incest, we can have separate conversations on what the implications there are. There are some pro-lifers who support exceptions to an abortion ban for those things. But that's somewhat of a separate topic. You must first arrive at the issue of, is it a human being? Is it indwelled with rights? Does it have a soul if you're a religious person? Regardless, though, these are the complexities that the left reduces to a caricature of, well, you just want to control women. It's amazing to me the number of times I see progressives tweet out things like, you know, if we made men responsible for child welfare and child support the moment a woman got pregnant, people on the right would support abortion. No, actually, that's something we've advocated for. And then there's the gun issue. The number of times I've seen a progressive on social media say, I don't know why Republicans like open carry. Don't they realize black people are going to be able to carry guns? Yes, we do, and we support it. They simply don't have to understand our concerns, our views, or our ideas because the media itself does not concern itself with those ideas and views and the like. They simply don't do it. And the result is a descent into caricature of the right by the left that once an independent, moderate, curious voter finds and encounters someone on the right who actually can articulate both sides of the issue, a lot of these people are drawn in to the right. The other dangerous thing for the left right now is that they are so deluded. Roy Teixeira, the pollster, calls it the Fox News fallacy. He's given it a term that if Fox News covers a story, the left presumes no one truly cares about the story. Fox News, more than other media outlets, has disproportionately covered the story about the Florida Parental Rights and Education Act, the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. The left came up with that term, poll tested, focus grouped it to try to drive up opposition. And in Florida, a majority of Democratic primary voters, according to polling, media polling, not right-wing polling, media polling, I think it was the Miami Herald, that opposed the legislation, its polling showed a majority of Democratic primary voters support the legislation. The Fox News polling that's out there, and again, if you're on the left, you tend to be dismissive of Fox. I get it. You shouldn't be here because the Fox News polling has been remarkably pro Joe Biden. The Fox News poll actually has a higher approval rating for Joe Biden at 45% than most other polling out there. The problem, however, is that he is absolutely, on issue after issue, disastrous. On his handling of the COVID pandemic, 49% approve. That's his best. 40% approve of Joe Biden's handling of climate change. And this, by the way, this is among registered voters. 40% on climate change, 39% his handling of Russia, 36% the economy, 34% guns, 33% crime, 32% in immigration, 28% inflation. That's rather brutal polling. Kamala Harris's approval rating is also disastrous with 41% disapproval. But what's interesting, though, are the issues. According to the Fox News polling, do you know, most people believe that instead of restricting guns, you should be tougher on criminals. What do you think is more likely to decrease gun violence? Tighter restrictions on guns, 33%. Tougher penalties on criminals, 54%. 54%. What do you think is more likely to decrease gun violence? Better enforcement of existing gun laws, 47%. More laws regulating guns, 34%. Amazing. Amazing. But it's not just that. Only 18% of Americans, according to Fox News, think that their family's financial situation is better today. 44% say it's worse. 38% say it's about the same. That's not good. How responsible do you think government regulation on energy production is responsible for current gas prices? 77% of Americans say government regulation is responsible. 71%, interestingly enough, say domestic oil companies are responsible. 70% say the Biden administration's policies are responsible. 66% say Vladimir Putin is responsible. More Americans think Joe Biden's policies are responsible for high gas prices than think Vladimir Putin is responsible. In general, do you think immigrants who come to the United States today help the country and make it a better place to live, or hurt the country and make it a worse place to live? 45% say they help the country. 39% say they hurt the country. Last year it was 48% help, 39% hurt. The hurt number has stayed fairly consistently. Compared to 2 years ago, is the country's border security better or worse? 50% say worse, 11% say better, 35% about the same. How much, if anything, have you heard about the Biden administration's decision to end Title 42? 61% have heard about it. Are you in favor of keeping it or not? 63% are in favor of keeping it. 63% say they are in favor of keeping it. That includes, by the way, Democrats. If you listen to the Democrats in Washington and you listen to the coverage on television, you would think Democrats are all in favor of giving up Title 42. The politicians are. The Democratic voters are not. How do you view abortion? Only 27% say it should be legal in all cases at all times. 11% say it should always be illegal. 43% say it should be illegal except in certain circumstances. Put in perspective, 54% of Americans say abortion should be illegal except in certain circumstances. Recently, some states passed laws that ban abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy, except in case of medical emergency. 50% favor those rules. 54% favor a ban after 15 weeks. I bring up the Fox News polling again because it has Joe Biden doing better with the public than any of the other major polling firms. And yet it shows consistently, as do the other polling out there, the Wall Street Journal poll, the Washington Post ABC poll, the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, they all show that Americans' views align more with the Republicans right now than the Democrats. Americans' views align more with Republicans on immigration. Americans' views align more with Republicans on border security. Americans' views align more with Republicans on inflation, the cause of oil prices being the Biden administration's fault. Americans tend to be more pro-life and more in favor of restricting or banning abortion than the media would have you believe. Americans tend to be more likely to believe that cracking down on criminals, not guns, is the way to improve the crime situation in the country. Time and time again, if Fox News raises an issue, the rest of the media says, well, it's not an issue for America. Actually, Americans tend to agree with Fox News. Americans tend to be people who listen to what Fox News has been saying. There's a reason a majority of Americans listen to Fox compared to the other outlets. And the media and the Democrats occupy the same bubble. And in that bubble, Fox is bad and racist, and Americans who listen to it are bad and racist. And in fact, the Fox News polling suggests a majority of Americans care about these issues the way people who watch Fox News care about these issues. Again, a majority of Americans support laws that prohibit teachers from talking about gender and sexual orientation. That's not a majority of Republicans. That's a majority of registered voters in the United States. 60% of parents with children under the age of 18 agree with that proposition. The only group of people who do not agree with that are white college-educated Democrats. That's not the demographic you want to be in. But what is the result of this? The result is the summer seasonal rioting. As the Democrats believe from media coverage that they're in the majority, that the Democrats believe that they're in the right, that the Democrats believe they have the moral high ground, and they're losing, so they express themselves in terms of violence on the streets. It's coming. It's already started. Again, this year. It is going to be disastrous for the Democrats as a result. It is going to be absolutely disastrous for the Democrats. They don't see it coming. They don't appreciate it. They don't understand it because they live in the same bubble with the media. And you know what's going to happen? That rioting, just like happened in 2020, is going to rapidly push more people to the right. The difference now is that the Democrats are in charge and there's a Republican wave coming, and this is only going to amplify the wave. They are starting to realize the Dobbs decision, if it comes out as seen in the leak, it's not going to pad the margins for the Democrats. And all that's going to do is make them even angrier. If the Democrats can't get out of seasonal cyclical rioting, it's going to push more and more of the country to the right. Hispanic voters right now are rapidly moving to the GOP, and there's troubling data for the Democrats that married black couples are also moving to the GOP. And it has everything to do not with the Republicans, but with the Democrats going nuts.